from RTV6, Indianapolis This Week.
Welcome to Indianapolis This Week. Today, the continued fallout over President Trump's tweets and speeches, and the vice president standing up for Confederate monuments. But first, what is expected to be one of the most closely watched U.S. Senate races in the country. Senator Joe Donnelly is officially running for re-election. He kicked off his campaign last week with a statewide RV tour. I asked him about his strategy and what he sees as the next steps that are necessary on health care.
We need to take the best Republican ideas and the best Democrat ideas. Ideas like cost sharing, which helps to keep premiums down and deductibles down, which we've done for a long time. Reinsurance with the government as a reinsurance partner to help keep costs low. Some Republican ideas like health savings accounts and selling across state lines can be part of this as well. And so when you put the best mix in from everybody, you get stable premiums, stable deductibles, and better care.
What is this race all about?
It's about the voice of Hoosiers being heard, about who'll stand up for everybody in every county, in every town, making sure that our voice is heard every day. And that's what I try to do out in Washington, is make sure that the farmer in Greene County's voice is heard, that the small business person in Vigo County's voice is heard, that the single mom in Marion County, that her voice is heard, and to make sure that this country, this government works for them, that the country continues to get stronger every day.
Trump won Indiana last year by 19 points. How do you win this race? What is the strategy? Is it going toward the middle, running to the left? What do you do?
You do what's right for the country. I've always said with President Trump, I'm happy to work with him on all those areas that move our nation forward. He and I have talked about ending outsourcing. He and I have talked about opioids. So we can work on all of those areas together. We can work on immigration together. So the things that we can work on together to move our nation forward, to make it stronger, let's do that. I also served under President Bush and President Obama. And I said with all of them, when the president wants to do what's right for our country, count me in every single time. It doesn't matter what party they are, what their name is, count me in. If the plan they're pursuing doesn't seem to make much sense for our nation, that plan I'll pass on. But the good stuff, count me in every time.
You were criticized because of your ties to your brother's company and outsourcing some of that work to Mexico. How do you respond to critics who said you were such a critic of Carrier and called for no outsourcing of jobs, but then had this in the family?
Sure, I haven't had any active role in the company in over 20 years. I had no idea what the business is up to or what they're doing. My job was at the United States Senate, and so that's where my focus was. And so I'll fight every day to keep every job right here in Indiana. I've voted against every single bad trade deal that has ever come along.
This week, President Trump showed different demeanors in different speeches. The variations all depended on his audience. Tensions were high in Phoenix following a Trump campaign rally to a less than capacity but loud crowd of supporters. Some of those supporters and a larger crowd of protesters squared off outside of the rally. Police sprayed tear gas on protesters, claiming they were throwing rocks and bottles at officers. At least 4 people were arrested. Inside, the president rehashed his response to the white supremacist violence in Charlottesville. But Trump left out the phrase about many sides being responsible. He again blasted news reporters for their coverage.
Then I said, racism is evil. Did they report that I said that racism is evil? You know why? Because they are very dishonest people.
The very next day, Trump struck a more conciliatory tone, calling for national unity in the speech to the American Legion in Nevada. This week, both Trump and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell initially tried to downplay the reported rift in their relationship. And the president seemed to stoke the fire, all by way of a tweet. On Thursday, Trump tweeted this: "The only problem I have with Mitch McConnell is that after hearing repeal and replace for 7 years, he failed." The president is referencing the fight over the Affordable Care Act. McConnell didn't mention the president while giving a speech in his home state of Kentucky, but he did try to joke about his failed effort to unite Senate Republicans on health care.
You know, I'm often asked, what is being the majority leader of the Senate like? It's a little bit like being a groundskeeper at a cemetery. Everybody's under you, but nobody's listening.
McConnell and Trump are not expected to meet until after Congress returns to Washington, that after Labor Day. The organizer of the white supremacist rally that turned violent and deadly in Charlottesville is now in jail. Chris Cantwell turned himself in after University of Virginia police issued a warrant for his arrest. He's been denied bond. Cantwell is accused of illegally using tear gas during that initial nighttime rally. That protest featuring torches and chants like "White Lives Matter" and "Jews will not replace us" resulted in a counter-protest. One of the counter-protesters, Heather Heyer, was killed when a suspected white supremacist rammed his car into a group of people. This video shows a man causing $37,000 in damage to the Confederate Monument in Garfield Park. That's according to court documents in the case of 30-year-old Anthony Ventura. He was arrested after he vandalized the monument last week with sledgehammers. When police arrived, they found pieces of granite chipped from the structure and bronze plaques damaged. Ventura is charged with criminal mischief. Vice President Mike Pence is wading into the debate over the future of Confederate monuments like that one in Garfield Park. Many others around the country have come down since the Charlottesville violence. In an interview on Fox and Friends, Pence says the statues should stay.
But I'm someone who believes in more monuments, not less monuments. What we ought to do is we ought to remember our history, but we also ought to celebrate the progress that we've made since that history.
And Pence says he thinks decisions on the future of monuments should be up to local and state governments. A special prosecutor is now handling the investigation into the shooting death of Aaron Bailey by IMPD officers. Marion County Prosecutor Terry Curry called for a special prosecutor from northern Indiana to take over the case. Bailey was killed after he sped off from a traffic stop and crashed his car. He did not have a gun. Curry says a special prosecutor will help to ensure a fair outcome, and the mayor is backing that decision.
As in any case, whether it's any sort of crime, as prosecutor, we have three options. Is that number one, we determine no crime was committed as a possibility. Number two, that we believe there's probable cause that crime has been committed and charge that individual outright. Or if it's a gray area, then potentially an avenue is to present it to a grand jury.
Heightens the public's confidence in an independent investigation being done, but hopefully we'll take one thing off of Terry Curry's platter, put it on somebody else's platter, because we all want complete transparency and we want resolution as quickly as it can come.
St. Joseph County Prosecutor Kenneth Cotter will now be in charge of the case. A parent of a first grader in Mount Vernon Community Schools is upset about a letter sent home from the teacher. The letter sent home Wednesday sets guidelines for language the teacher doesn't want to hear in the classroom. A McCordsville Elementary School first grade teacher writes that some of her students have been saying the words God, Jesus, and devil, and she's asking parents to discuss the appropriate time and place to talk about religion. One parent is worried about the impact this could have on her daughter.
I think it can make her not talk at all, just be quiet, because she's not going to know what she can say or what she can't say.
Superintendent Shane Robbins says the district is addressing the letter with the teacher. He indicates the communication is not in line with board policy, which states it's not in a public school's realm to advance or inhibit religious beliefs or practices. The teacher sent a brief note to parents on Thursday stating that letter did not come across as intended. Our political insiders are next. Stay with us. Their take on Donald Trump's speeches and tweets. Plus, will the Republicans' new nickname for Senator Joe Donnelly stick? You're watching Indianapolis This Week on RTV.
You'll find that experience at Tomwood Lexus.
Welcome back. We're joined by our political insiders, conservative Abdul Hakim Shabazz, Democrat Jamar Cobb-Denard, and Indy Star, former Indy Star reporter Mary Beth Schneider. Thank you all for being here.
Oh, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Let's talk first about the President's Week. President Trump in Phoenix. What do you make of his tone at this event?
Well, my thing is, will the real Donald Trump please stand up? One day he's being conciliatory, talking about let's all work together. The other day it's fake news and, drawing moral equivalent to Nazis. So it just depends on what day of the week is Donald Trump going to show up. I think he just needs some medication for a bipolar condition.
Well, Abdul, this is the real Donald Trump. This is Donald Trump on the campaign trail, stirring people up and really getting Americans on fire when really he should be in the White House making good policy and leading our country.
Yeah, there's scripted Donald Trump and then the guy who talks off the cuff, and I will tend to believe the genuine one is the guy talking off the cuff. That's a real problem. He is hurting himself over and over and over. He gave actually pretty good remarks about unity and bringing the nation together, and then he just, you know, demolishes that the next day, saying reporters don't like their country. He attacks John McCain, a true war hero who's suffering cancer right now, attacks Jeff Flake. I mean, who went on Twitter, attacks Mitch McConnell.
Mitch McConnell, Bob Corker, Tennessee. And the thing about particularly going after the Republicans, this is part of the reason why healthcare reform failed that Republicans are trying to do, because the president, you know, started, I won't necessarily go so far as to say politically bullying, but guess what? Congress is a co-equal branch government. They start pushing back, and how you badmouth these people, and then, you know, you are going to need them later, you know, to get your agenda through.
Yeah, and the problem isn't the filibuster and the Democrats. The problem is they couldn't get 51 Republicans. Actually, they only needed 50, and Mike Pence. They didn't have that.
Joel, do you think that puts Republicans' majority at risk?
I don't think it's still not yet, because we have still such a long way to go until November. I think we'll put the Republican majority at risk if Donald Trump follows through on his promise and starts funding Republican primary challengers to members of his own party. If you have that, then this is Game of Thrones time, and it's just total and complete chaos, though not as well scripted.
Mexico Joe, Jamar, can Senator Donnelly get past this catchphrase? Will voters remember it next year?
This is just hype, right? It's a gimmick. It's the word of the week. And by next week or the week after, it'll be something different. Look, Joe Donnelly, over the course of the past 6 years, has supported American jobs and making sure that we get our people to work. And as he continues to do that, that's what's going to follow him into the campaign.
I think it's a gimmick, it's juvenile, but these kind of things can stick. Joe Donnelly left himself, I think, open to this. And while I think the mariachi band was foolish, I think you're going to find it in an ad. And sometimes these little bites, Mexico Joe, can stick in people's heads.
No, and I agree with Mayor Beth wholeheartedly. I mean, it's little things like that that if you don't really take care of right away will just snowball and snowball and snowball. And the one thing, we're all talking about Mexico Joe, so apparently it must be sticking.
Special prosecutor now will take over the Aaron Bailey case here locally in Indianapolis. What does this say to you?
That's a very good step, frankly. I think that people need assurance that justice is being done.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say this is smart, and it's the right thing to do for Indianapolis, and especially with the tone of the country. This is the right way to handle this situation.
No, as an attorney, I totally understand what Terry Curry did. You got to have confidence in the process. I think what people are going to find out, though, is the folks who've been calling for the officers to be charged with murder, you're probably not going to get that necessarily out of a special prosecutor. And I think there are just some people in this debate who want a certain outcome. They think the special prosecutor is going to give it to them. They may be in for a bit of a shock if that doesn't happen.
Do you think this case has impacted the public's trust in Metro Police?
I don't think it's really changed the public's trust in police, because, for one thing, we don't have all the facts yet. And that's what's I've been pounding on since this happened. You know, we had the coroner's report come out, people saying the shots came, you know, from the back of the vehicle, but also there's some toxicology reports saying that Mr. Bailey had cocaine and stimulants in his system. We don't know exactly where the officers were, you know, when the shots were fired. We know just some came from behind, but we don't have all the facts yet. I think until we get all the facts, I think the public is actually symbolic of Indianapolis, of taking that very wait and see approach and not jumping the gun like a lot of other communities have, where things have actually gone south a lot faster, a lot quicker.
You know, I don't think things are going to turn south and get violent, but emotions aren't about the facts, and people are upset and they're angry about what happened and even how this has been handled. And I really think that it'll be something to watch as things unfold and as we get the facts, how the community continues to respond.
Last word, we're tight on time. Confederate monuments, should they stay, should they go?
Personally, I think they should go to museums. And the one that's at here in Indianapolis, it should not be in a park. It should be at Crown Hill. That was a burial marker. It should be in a burial place.
I agree with Mary Beth wholeheartedly. However, some of the rhetoric has just gotten completely over the top. People saying, I don't want to see the Dukes of Hazzard on TV, you know, because of General Lee. Heck, I'm so upset even I won't take aspirin out of the bottle, because when I pick the cotton, I have this big slavery flashback, and it just freaks me out. completely.
I've never wanted Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
So, you know.
put it in a museum, put it in context, but we can't ignore history, because that is the quickest way to repeat it is by ignoring it.
You know, Abdul's never picked a bunch of cotton a day in his life. But I'll tell you what are we celebrating? And we celebrate things by memorializing them and putting them in monuments.
Yeah.
The Confederacy is not something that we should celebrate.
Exactly.
Thank you all for your time. We appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Rallies and checkers. Fast foodies know the deal.
A major policy change for one of the largest insurance companies in the U.S. Anthem says it may deny claims for care in the ER if the visit is not considered an emergency. The Indianapolis-based insurer has already made similar decisions in other states. Anthem is notifying Indiana providers the company could potentially deny a claim if a patient chooses the ER when a more appropriate setting is available. The chief clinical officer at St. Vincent is concerned the change could impact patients' decisions on seeking medical care.
We think that we shouldn't put the onus on the patient to make that critical determination about what is or isn't appropriate. If a patient thinks they have an emergency, they should call 911 or they should go to the emergency room directly.
And there are exceptions to the new policy, including ER visits for children under 14, if a patient is referred to the ER by a doctor, if no urgent care is within 15 miles, or if it's a Sunday or a major holiday. The number of people smoking in the U.S. continues to fall. Now, a new ad accuses big tobacco companies of trying to boost cigarette sales by targeting two specific groups: people with mental illnesses and members of the military. Take a look.
You don't need to look any further than their own internal documents.
Classic downscale smoker.
Less educated.
Limited job prospects.
Part of the wrong crowd. The plums are here to be plucked.
The ads are from the anti-tobacco nonprofit Truth Initiative. They focus on the fact that 40% of the cigarettes sold in the U.S. are to people with depression, anxiety, substance abuse problems, or other mental health issues. The group also says 38% of military smokers start using tobacco after they enlist. Indigo is moving forward with the Red Line Rapid Transit project, but some business owners aren't happy because Indigo is using eminent domain to claim property along the future route. As our Chance Walzer found out, some businesses like a longtime staple of the Butler-Tarkington neighborhood are not giving in so easily.
Right now, while plans for the hotly debated Red Line project move forward, Mo and Johnny's owner, Chuck Mack, is fighting two fights before construction begins. First is about the valuation of his land. Indigo is pursuing efforts to seize a small portion of Chuck's property via eminent domain. They offered him what they thought is a fair $815. But Chuck does not agree and has hired a lawyer to fight that valuation in court.
It has no reality to the loss of value to my site. I mean, none.
Indigo has settled similar disputes with other businesses along the impacted corridor. They would not comment on ongoing legal proceedings with Mo and Johnny's, but said in a statement, as of today, Indigo has settled with 16 property owners. This process is designed to ensure public projects compensate property owners fair value for land. In Chuck's second fight, he has friends, other area business owners, who believe the scale of the Red Line project is too large and in turn unsafe for College Avenue.
Envision that there's a curve now in the middle of the road. You look at this traffic going by, you have a size 7 slipper, and you're trying to put a size 12 foot in it. It isn't going to work.
Mack and others are sharing their concerns with everyone who will listen, but this while construction plans move forward. Indigo plans to break ground by year's end.
Chance Walzer with that report for us. Indigo tells us they've worked hard since 2014 to gather feedback from the public. They say they've tried and will continue to try to minimize the impact for business owners and residents. Up next, what's happening around town this week that you need to know about. Lauren Casey is in with the 6 just ahead on Indianapolis.
Weekday mornings at 9 on RTV6.
I think you'll enjoy the end of the weekend. Temperatures during the afternoon hours will be in the low 80s across central Indiana. 84 is your average temperature this time of year. Looking at 82 in Greenwood, 83 in Columbus. Humidity low everywhere, and it's dry through the day. The next best chance for any showers or thunder showers will come during the day on Monday. Sun sets tonight at 8:24. The clouds will increase this evening and overnight. The chance for showers and thunderstorms is there as we go through Monday. Monday, maybe a morning shower. Here's your overnight cloud cover increase. There are a couple of showers in the western portion of the state first thing in the morning. Monday, 74 by noon. As we get to the afternoon hours, that's when the showers and thunderstorms become a little more likely. We won't all see the rain, but you'll have another chance on Tuesday before we dry it out on Wednesday. Have a great day and enjoy next week.
Welcome back to Indianapolis This Week. I'm Lauren Casey. It's time for the 6, so let's take a look at 6 things coming up this week in Indy. Starting off with an important day right here at RTV6. On Tuesday, we need your help to make our telethon for Peyton Manning Children's Hospital a success. Tune in right here to RTV6 for more information on how you can call in and help kids right here in our community. Last year, you helped us raise more than $250,000 for this cause. Free breast cancer screenings are being offered on Tuesday down in Franklin. Stop by the Windsor Health Network from 5 until 8 in the evening. This is being provided by the Johnson County Health Department and Indiana Breast Cancer Awareness Trust. Those who qualify will be scheduled for mammograms. Colts fans, get ready to cheer on the boys in blue at home on Thursday. For the next preseason game, they'll take on the Cincinnati Bengals at Lucas Oil Stadium. Kickoff is scheduled for 7 p.m. And on Thursday, it's a big night for football down in Bloomington as our IU Hoosiers will take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. ESPN also announced that this game would be their college game day, so it's a big night for the Hoosiers. That one starts at 8 p.m. And hey, we can't forget about our Boilermakers. Purdue takes on Louisville this Saturday right here in Indy at Lucas Oil Stadium at 7:30. They'll host a Circle Up pep rally for fans on New Monument Circle on Friday to help kick off the season. And of course, we're heading into the Labor Day weekend, a time for many workers to take an extra day off and relax. The Indy Labor Fest is taking over Georgia Street right here in downtown with a kids zone, live music, food, and drinks. They are expecting more than 20,000 people to attend this fun event to celebrate our workers and also learn a little bit about the careers right here in central Indiana. That's what's on tap this week in Indy. Back to you.
And thank you for joining us for Indianapolis This Week. For our entire production team here at RTV6, have a great week.